All right. So today we are going deep on Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, yeah.
Have you read this one?
I have.
I feel like everybody and their mom.
It's one of those books that it's almost like a modern classic.
Yeah.
If you're trying to improve yourself, like this is one of those books that you got to read.
Yeah. And I think we're going to go a little bit beyond just the surface level stuff today.
Yeah.
Because we've got a pretty savvy audience.
Yeah.
So I think we can handle some deeper cuts here.
Totally.
So when we say Atomic Habits, I think most people listening probably get the gist right.
Yeah.
Small changes over time lead to big results.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit more to it than that, right?
Yeah, it's not just do a push-up a day and you'll be jacked in a year.
Exactly.
Right.
There's like a real psychological element here that I think is worth digging into.
It's that 1% better every day. And
Yes.
it's amazing how much that actually adds up to over a year.
Yeah.
He says like 37 times better over a year or something like that,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is just incredible.
And I think it's not even just about the results themselves.
Right.
It's about how those small wins start to change your mindset.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like they give you that proof that the system is working. So you're more likely to keep going.
Yeah, it's funny because in the beginning when you're only 1% better, you might not notice that much of a change.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, it's really like a mental game.
Yeah.
Like it keeps you going, it keeps you motivated because you're seeing those results, even if they're small.
It's like that consistency is building confidence
Annually.
as much as it is building results.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, so we have the small changes adding up over time.
Yeah.
But then Clear also gets into this thing called the habit loop,
Right.
which he lays out as a 4-step process.
Yep.
Craving, response, and reward. And this is where things start to get like really interesting, I think.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's really backed up by a lot of cool neuroscience.
Ooh, tell me about the neuroscience.
Well, like, have you ever heard of the basal ganglia?
I have heard of the basal ganglia.
Okay, so this part of the brain, it's like really important for forming habits.
Okay.
So like when you do something over and over again,
Yeah.
the basal ganglia kind of takes over and it makes it automatic.
Oh, interesting.
So you don't have to think about it as much.
So it's like it's building a pathway in your brain.
Totally. Yeah. It's like a well-worn path. The more you walk it, the easier it gets.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so that's why this habit loop is so important.
Okay.
When you're trying to build a good habit, you want to make sure the cue is obvious, the craving is attractive, the response is easy, and the reward is satisfying.
So like for me in the morning,
Yeah.
my cue is waking up.
Yeah.
My craving is caffeine.
Yeah.
My response is stumbling to the coffee maker.
Yeah.
And then the reward is delicious coffee.
Yeah.
So then if we're thinking about breaking a bad habit,
Right.
is it basically just flipping this around?
Kind of. It's about disrupting that loop. So like making that bad habit harder to do or making it less rewarding or even focusing on like what you gain by not doing it.
So it sounds like it's not really just about willpower then.
Yeah. Willpower is not enough.
It's more about being strategic
Totally.
and understanding how your brain works.
It's all about understanding the mechanics of how these habits form.
It's kind of empowering in a way.
For sure.
Like, oh, if we can understand how this works, we can actually change it
Totally.
instead of just like white knuckling it.
Yeah. And so that's where Clear's 4 laws of behavior change come in.
Okay, let's break those down
Yeah.
because I think people are going to want some like real actionable tips here.
For sure.
So the first one is make it obvious.
Right.
So what does that mean?
So it's about designing your environment to support those good habits.
Okay.
So like if you want to read more, don't just say, oh, I'm going to read for 30 minutes every day.
Yeah.
Like put the book you're excited about like right on your pillow.
Oh, so you can't miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
So it's like there it is. You can't avoid it.
Yeah, you've got to at least look at it.
Exactly.
Okay, so make it obvious. Put it right there in your face.
Yeah.
What about make it attractive? This one sounds a little trickier.
It is, but it's basically associating the habit you want to build with something you already enjoy.
Okay.
So, like, if you hate going to the gym, but you love listening to a certain podcast,
Yeah.
you only let yourself listen to that podcast while you're at the gym.
So it's like a little reward system.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's tied to the action you want to do.
Yeah.
I like
So it's
that.
like tricking your brain a little bit,
A little bit.
but in a good way.
Okay. Make it easy.
Yeah.
This one seems pretty self-explanatory.
It is, but it's important.
Yeah.
The idea is to just like reduce any friction that makes it hard to do the habit.
Okay.
So like laying out your workout clothes the night before,
Yeah.
or like prepping your meals for the week, things like that.
So it's almost like setting your future self up for success.
Yeah,
Like taking the decision-making out of it.
totally.
Right. And then the last one is make it satisfying.
Right.
And this is where we get to like celebrate our wins a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like maybe you use a habit tracker app.
Yeah.
And you just get that little dopamine hit from checking off that box,
Yeah.
or you give yourself a little reward after a week of doing the habit.
Yeah.
It's just like creating that positive feedback loop.
Okay, so we've got the habit loop, we've got the 4 laws.
Yeah.
Those seem like pretty solid foundations
Yeah.
for building better habits.
Yeah.
But Cleary also talks about this thing called identity-based habits.
Right.
And this is where I think things get really interesting.
Yeah, this is one of the most powerful ideas in the book.
Okay.
It's about shifting your focus from outcomes to identity.
What do you mean?
So instead of saying like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds,
Yeah.
you say, I am a healthy person.
Oh.
So it's about like who you are, not just what you do.
Yeah, so you're not just doing healthy things. You're being a healthy person.
Totally.
That's such a cool distinction.
It's a huge mindset shift.
It is.
And it actually works because then your actions will start to align with that identity.
Right. You're not just like going through the motions.
Yeah.
You're actually embodying that identity.
Yeah, you're living it.
And this kind of ties into another key concept from the book, which is the plateau of latent potential,
Yeah,
which is a mouthful.
it is.
So what is that and why is it important?
So it's this idea that with habits, we don't always see the results right away.
Yeah.
It's like you're putting in the work, but nothing seems to be happening.
Yeah, you're not getting that feedback loop yet.
Exactly.
You get discouraged.
And that's why a lot of people give up.
Right.
But Clear's saying like that's all part of the process.
Okay.
Like he uses the analogy of a hockey stick.
Yeah.
You know how it's flat for a while and then it suddenly shoots up?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that with habits.
So even though we're not seeing those results right away, the work we're putting in is still accumulating.
Totally.
It's just not visible yet.
It's like it's below the surface. Like it's
Right.
building up and then boom.
Yeah.
Suddenly you see that massive growth.
So it's all about trusting the process and being patient.
Absolutely.
And that's so hard in our culture.
It is.
Where we want everything, like right now.
It's like instant gratification everywhere.
Yes,
But real change takes time.
it does.
It's about playing the long game.
Yeah, this is already blowing my mind, and we're just scratching the surface of atomic habits.
Yeah, there's so much more to dig into.
So much more. But let's take a pause here.
Okay.
Let this all sink in a little bit.
Sounds good. You know, one of the things that I really appreciate about Clear's book is that he doesn't just like pull this stuff out of thin air.
Yeah.
He brings in all this research from like psychology and neuroscience and even biology.
Yeah, and it's not just like self-help fluff.
Exactly.
It actually feels like grounded in science,
Yeah.
which I appreciate.
It's like a framework, but it's backed up by evidence.
Okay, so speaking of frameworks,
Yeah.
there's this thing that Clear talks about called habit stacking,
Oh, yeah.
which I think is so clever.
It's a great strategy.
Can you explain how that works?
So basically, it's like piggybacking a new habit onto an existing one.
Okay.
So you're using the momentum from that existing habit to help you build the new one.
So it's like if I'm already brushing my teeth every day,
Right.
I could try to like add flossing into that routine
Exactly.
because I'm already doing it every day anyway.
Yeah, and it works because our brains are wired for efficiency.
Okay.
So when we do a series of actions repeatedly, those neural pathways get stronger and it becomes more automatic.
So it's like tricking your brain into accepting the new habit.
Kind of, yeah. You're not relying on willpower alone.
Yeah.
You're using that existing habit as a trigger.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
And it ties into that whole idea of reducing friction.
Right, like making those good habits as easy as possible.
Exactly. Like if you want to drink more water, keep a full water bottle on your desk.
Yes.
So you don't even have to think about it.
You're just like, oh, there's water. Might as well drink it.
Right.
So we're making the good habits easy. What about making those bad habits hard?
Yeah. So like if you're trying to cut back on social media,
Yeah.
delete those apps off your phone.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know, but it works.
Or like maybe log out of all your accounts.
Yeah.
So you have to like manually log in every time.
That little bit of friction can make a big difference.
It's just enough to make you think twice.
Exactly.
It's so interesting how much these like little tweaks can influence our behavior.
Right. Like it's not about being perfect. It's about designing a system that works for you.
Yeah, this whole idea of designing systems, not goals, really clicked for me.
Yeah. It's a big shift in thinking.
Can you explain what that means?
So like goals are important. They give you direction,
Yeah.
but they're not enough.
Yeah.
You need a system to actually reach those goals.
So it's like wanting to run a marathon. Yeah.
The marathon is the goal, but then you need training plan.
Right. You need a schedule. You need the right gear. You need to fuel your body properly.
It's like all the stuff that goes into actually achieving the goal.
Exactly.
Not just the goal itself.
Yeah, and that's where habit tracking comes in.
Ooh, yes. My friend is obsessed with her habit tracker.
I love habit tracking.
There's something about like visually seeing your progress.
Totally. And it's not just about feeling good.
Okay.
It's actually about gathering data.
Data about your habits.
Yeah, like, are you actually doing what you said you were going to do?
Okay.
And then you can use that information to make adjustments.
So, like, if I keep skipping my workout on Tuesdays,
Right.
maybe I need to, like, find a workout buddy for Tuesdays.
Exactly. Or maybe you need to reschedule your workout to a different day.
It's like turning habit formation into the science experiment.
Yeah, you're testing and tweaking.
I like that.
And, all of this is connected to the neuroscience of motivation.
Okay, here we go with the brain stuff again. I know, I love this stuff.
I do too.
So have you ever heard of dopamine?
Yeah, isn't that the stuff that gets released when you eat chocolate?
Yeah, it's like our brain's reward system.
Right.
And it's a big part of what makes habits stick.
So we need to, like, hack our dopamine system.
Kind of, yeah, but for good instead of evil.
I like that.
So, like, one strategy is temptation bundling.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that earlier.
Right. So, like, only letting yourself watch your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
You're basically using that dopamine hit from the show
Yeah.
to reinforce the habit of exercising.
Exactly.
Sneaky, but effective.
And then another strategy is celebrating small wins.
Yeah.
Don't wait until you've reached some big goal to acknowledge your progress.
So it's like finding those little moments of satisfaction along the way.
Right. It keeps you motivated.
So we've been talking a lot about the individual side of habit formation.
Yeah.
But Clera also acknowledges that we're influenced by other people.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Like, we're social creatures.
Yeah.
So our social environment plays a big role in our habits.
So this is where that whole concept of social proof comes in.
Totally.
Like, if we see people we admire doing certain things, we're more likely to do those things ourselves.
Exactly.
So if I want to start running, I should find some friends who are runners.
Yeah, join a running club or find a running buddy.
It's like that accountability and support can make a big difference.
For sure.
And then on the flip side, if you're trying to break a bad habit,
Yeah.
you might need to distance yourself from people who enable that habit.
It's not always easy, but sometimes it's necessary.
It's about creating an environment that supports your goals.
Exactly.
So it's not just about you, it's about the people you surround yourself with.
And all of this is really empowering
In what way?
because it means that it's never too late to change.
I love that.
Like, we can get stuck in our ways and think that our habits are set in stone, but our brains are amazing.
They are.
They can adapt and change.
So no matter how old you are or how ingrained your habits are,
You still have the power to change.
you're not stuck.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really hopeful message.
It is.
Like, it's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the process.
And being willing to experiment.
Yeah.
And, we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, there's more?
There's a whole other layer of strategies that we haven't even touched on yet.
Okay, so we've got the basics down,
Yeah.
but now we're going to get into the really advanced stuff.
The next level stuff.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Me too. But let's take a quick break first,
Yeah.
just to let all this sink in.
All right, so we're back, and we're ready to, like, level up our habit game.
Yeah.
One of the things I really appreciate about Atomic Habits is that it's not like a cookie-cutter approach.
Right.
It's really about figuring out what works best for you.
Totally. It's about understanding the principles.
Yeah.
And then, like, applying them to your own life.
Okay, so speaking of figuring out what works for you,
Yeah.
Clear talks about this thing called a decision journal,
Oh, yeah.
which I've never heard of before.
It's a great tool.
What is that?
So basically, it's just a way to, like, track your decisions and their outcomes.
Okay.
And not just, like, what you did, but, like, why you did it.
Oh, interesting.
And then, like, what happened as a result.
So it's like you're becoming a detective of your own habits.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to uncover those patterns.
Okay.
And, like, those hidden drivers behind your behavior.
So it's like bringing that self-awareness to your decisions.
Totally.
So how do you actually use a decision journal?
So Clear suggests asking yourself a few questions.
Okay.
Like, what were the cues that triggered this behavior?
Okay.
What were you craving?
Yeah.
What did you do in response to that craving?
Okay.
And then what was the reward or the consequence?
So you're really, like, breaking down that whole process.
Yeah, you're getting really granular.
Okay. I like it.
And then once you have that awareness,
Yeah.
you can start experimenting with different strategies. Right. Clear talks about finding your Goldilocks zone for habits.
The Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, like not too hard, not too easy.
Just right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's that sweet spot where the habit is challenging enough to keep you engaged,
Yeah,
but not so difficult that you just give up.
that makes sense.
It's kind of like a video game, right?
Okay.
If it's too easy, you get bored.
Yeah.
But if it's too hard, you rage quit.
Right.
So you need to find that balance.
So how do we find that balance?
Well, Clear has this thing called the 2-minute rule.
Oh, yeah, the 2-minute rule. I've heard of this one.
So the idea is that you start with a really tiny version of the habit
Yeah.
that takes no more than 2 minutes to do.
So, like, if I wanted to start meditating every day, I could just meditate for 2 minutes.
Exactly. And the point is to make it so easy that you can't say no.
Yeah, you're just, like, tricking yourself into getting started.
Totally. And then once that becomes a habit,
Yeah.
you can gradually increase the time.
You're, like, sneaking in the back door of habit change.
Yeah.
I like that.
But, even once you've got that consistency down,
Yeah.
Clear says that sometimes we need to embrace boredom.
Ooh, boredom.
Hey, no, it's not a sexy topic.
No, but I think it's so important
It is.
because we live in this world of, like, constant stimulation,
Right.
and we've forgotten how to just be bored.
Totally. And real mastery takes time.
It does.
It takes patience. It takes, like, pushing through those moments of boredom.
Yeah, it's like learning to play an instrument.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like Jimi Hendrix on day one.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of, like, scales and practicing, and it's going to be boring.
Exactly. But it's through that boredom that you develop those skills.
So how do we learn to embrace boredom?
Well, Clear suggests focusing on the intrinsic rewards of the activity.
What does that mean?
So instead of focusing on the outcome,
Yeah.
you focus on the process.
Okay.
So, like, if you're learning to paint,
Yeah.
don't focus on, like, creating a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Focus on the feeling of the brushstrokes on the canvas.
So it's like finding that enjoyment in the moment,
Exactly.
not just like the end result.
And then when those moments of boredom do inevitably come up.
Yeah, because they will.
They will.
Use them as an opportunity to be creative.
Okay. So, like, instead of reaching for your phone,
Yeah.
challenge yourself to come up with new ideas.
So it's like turning that boredom into something productive.
Totally. And, I think Atomic Habits is about so much more than just personal productivity.
Okay.
It's really about creating a better world.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Because Clear talks about how our habits, both individually and collectively, like, shape the course of history.
Right. Like, small changes multiplied by millions of people can have a huge impact.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
It's like our habits really do matter.
They do.
They're not just like these little things we do every day.
They shape our lives, and they shape the world around us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Atomic Habits,
Yeah.
I hope you're walking away not just with some practical tips, but also with this sense of, like, empowerment.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have the power to change your habits
And change your life.
and change the world.
And change the world.
So what small changes are you going to make today?
Yeah. What small steps can you take to create that ripple effect of positive change?
Remember, even tiny changes consistently applied can lead to remarkable results.
That's the power of Atomic Habits.
Thanks for joining us on this journey,
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed it.
and we'll see you next time for another deep dive